I never thought dying would feel like waking up in someone else's skin, someone else's life, someone else's sins. But there I was, staring into the mirror of the master bathroom in a Virginia estate. My reflection not my own, a face carved from granite, jowls sagging under the weight of too many command decisions. Eyes like chipped flint that had ordered drone strikes without flinching. General Harlan Iron Fist Whitaker. My father-in-law. The man who'd buried my real body 6 feet under Arlington soil. Now housed my soul. And God help him. Because I was going to make him pay for every lie he'd whispered in my husband's ear. Every frame job that turned me from loving wife to disposable scapegoat. It started with that phone call on a muggy August night in 2024. The kind where the cicadas scream like they're auditioning for Armageddon. I'd been in the kitchen of our Alexandria row house. Abigail Hayes, 32. Freelance journalist with a nose for corruption. Married to Captain Ethan Whitaker for 5 years, stirring marinara sauce while Ethan paced the living room, his phone glued to his ear. Yes, sir. Understood. Sir, he kept saying, his voice dropping lower each time, like he was confessing to a priest instead of reporting to his daddy dearest. When he hung up, his face was the color of bad news. Pale. Sweaty. Eyes darting like a cornered fox. Abby, we need to talk, he said, sinking onto the couch, his dog tags clinking against his chest like a death knell. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, heart already sinking because I knew that tone, the one that meant family secrets were about to spill over into our marriage like toxic waste. He told me everything in fits and starts, words tumbling out like he'd been holding them in with duct tape. His father, the legendary General Whitaker, wasn't just climbing the ranks at the Pentagon, he was knee-deep in black ops, funneling arms to private militias in Eastern Europe under the guise of humanitarian aid. But it had gone south, a shipment hijacked, a village bombed by accident, civilians turned to collateral. And the whistleblower? Some low-level analyst who'd sniffed it out. Except the general couldn't have that. So he'd pinned it on her, me. Forged emails. Planted hard drives. Whispers to his cronies in the DOJ. It's for the greater good. Son, he'd told Ethan. She'll take the fall quietly. We'll make it look like she was in on it from the start. I laughed then. A sharp, bitter bark that echoed off the exposed brick walls. The greater good? That's your dad's line for covering his ass? Ethan, I've been digging into your family's shady dealings for months. Those consulting fees from Raytheon. The off-books flights to Kiev. I was going to expose it all. But not like this. Not by becoming the villain in your daddy's war story. Ethan's eyes welled up. But there was no fire in them. Just the dull resignation of a man who'd saluted his way into moral bankruptcy. Abby, please. If you run the story, it'll destroy us. The general says. He says he'll disown me. Court-martial me for insubordination. I can't. You can't what? Lose your pension? Your daddy's approval? I slammed the wooden spoon down. Sauce splattering like blood accusations. I've given up everything for you, my byline at the Post. My independence. And now you're asking me to swallow this? To let him bury me alive in federal prison? He reached for my hand, but I yanked it back, the ring on my finger feeling like a noose. It's not forever. Just a plea deal. 5 years. Tops. We'll visit. It'll blow over. But it didn't blow over. It detonated. By dawn, FBI vans were screeching up to our curb, agents in windbreakers swarming the house like locusts. They cuffed me in front of the neighbors, who gawked from their porches with that uniquely American mix of schadenfreude and performative outrage. "Traitor," one yelled, hurling a half-empty Starbucks cup that bounced off the squad car. Ethan stood there in his boxers, hands limp at his sides, mouthing, "I'm sorry," as they shoved me inside. The trial was a circus, a three-ring media frenzy in D.C.'s federal courthouse, where the air smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Prosecutors paraded evidence that I'd fabricated in my sleep, emails timestamped to my laptop, wire transfers from shell accounts I'd never heard of. My lawyer, a harried public defender named Ruiz who looked like he'd rather be auditing tax returns, advised me to take the deal. 15 years. Minimum security. Better than life without parole. I fired him on the spot, standing in the holding cell with my orange jumpsuit itching like regret. "No deal," I told the judge, my voice steady as rebar. "This is a setup. General Whitaker's the snake here, not me." The courtroom gasped, collective pearl clutching from the gallery of patriots who'd come for the show. The judge, a Reagan appointee with a mustache like a broom bristle, banged his gavel. "Contempt. Yes. Hayes. 90 days solitary to cool that hot head." Solitary was where the real hell began. Not the dark, but the endless gray, concrete walls that sweated in the Virginia humidity, a slot for meals that tasted like regret boiled in dishwater, the fluorescent buzz that drilled into your skull like a bad hangover. Nights blurred into days, and I scratched tallies on the wall until my nails bled, whispering Ethan's name like a curse. He'd visited once. Early on, his uniform starched to perfection, eyes red-rimmed behind aviators. "Abby, the general says it's for national security. Just sign the plea." I pressed my palm to the plexiglass divider, veins bulging like rivers of rage. "Tell your father that if I ever get out, I'll drag his empire down brick by brick. Starting with you." He flinched, but didn't argue. That was the last I saw of him before the transfer to Supermax. It was in that hole, on a night when thunder rattled the bars like God's own fury, that the swap happened. I'd been praying, not to the Sunday school Jesus of my Virginia upbringing, but to whatever dark force listens when good girls go bad. "Give me a way out," I begged, curled on the thin mattress, the storm outside mirroring the one in my chest. "Let me make them feel it." Lightning cracked, close enough to smell the ozone, and the lights flickered out. In that void, a voice not mine, not human, whispered through the vents, "Power for power. Flesh for flesh. Take the shadow. Become the storm." I felt it then, a rip like Velcro tearing from my spine outward, my soul uncoiling like smoke from a grenade. Pain. White-hot and infinite. Then nothing. When I woke, I wasn't in chains. I was in silk sheets, a four-poster bed in a room that screamed old money, mahogany paneling, crystal decanters glinting in the moonlight, the faint scent of bay rum and bourbon. My body, no. His body, ached like I'd run a marathon in combat boots. I stumbled to the mirror, and there he was, Harlan Whitaker, 68, broad-shouldered even in decline, silver hair, cropped military short, a scar from Nam slicing his left eyebrow like a warning. "What the fuck?" The voice that came out was gravel and authority, the kind that made privates piss themselves. But inside, it was me, Abigail Hayes, the undisciplined daughter-in-law he'd sneered at over Thanksgiving turkey, calling me a bleeding heart blogger who didn't know the cost of freedom. The swap. It had to be. Some cosmic fuck you. A deal with the devil brokered in the bowels of a supermax. I flex his hands, feeling the calluses from years of salutes and handshakes with senators. Power hummed in my veins. Real power, access codes, black cards, a Rolodex of the mighty. And revenge? Oh. It tasted like sweet tea on a summer porch, icy, addictive, southern as sin. First things first, confirm the lie. I rifled through the general's desk, fingers thick, steady, unlocking drawers with muscle memory I didn't earn. There it was, buried under briefing binders, a burner phone, text to a handler named Viper. Haze neutralized. Leaks sealed. Proceed with Phase 2. Phase 2, arming those militias. Escalating a shadow war that could tip NATO into chaos. And the kicker? Ethan had known. His replies. Understood. Sir. For the family. Betrayal. Double-barreled. My husband, the boy I'd met at a VFW barbecue in Quantico, who'd promised till death do us part under magnolia trees, he'd handed me the shovel to dig my own grave. I laughed then, a deep, rumbling chuckle that echoed like thunder in the empty study. Harlan's laugh, but my malice. Time to play soldier. The wedding, that farce of a ceremony 2 years back, under a sky so blue it mocked the rot beneath, flashed in my mind as I plotted. Ethan in his mess dress, beaming like he'd won the lottery. Me in white lace, vows tasting like ash because I just uncovered the first thread of Harlan's web. And the general, striding up the aisle like he owned the church, leaning in during the receiving line to mutter, "Keep her in line." Son. Women like that need a firm hand. Undisciplined. I'd smiled through gritted teeth, toasting with champagne that went down like vinegar. To family, I'd said, clinking glasses, already sensing the noose tightening. Now, in his skin, I was the firm hand. I dressed in his uniform, crisp wool scratching like secrets, and drove the black Escalade to the Pentagon, the mall's monuments blurring past like judgmental ghosts. Security waved me through. Biometrics didn't lie, even if souls did. In the earring, it snapped to attention, but I saw the flicker in their eyes. The general was off lately. Sharper. Colder. Good. Let them whisper. My first move, Ethan. I summoned him to my office under pretense of a family briefing. He arrived at 0900 sharp, saluting with that puppy dog eagerness, oblivious to the storm in his father's eyes, my eyes. Sit, Captain, I growled, gesturing to the leather chair opposite the resolute desk replica. He did. Posture ramrod. But his gaze darted to the door like he smelled a trap. Sir, you wanted to see me about the Ukraine op? I leaned back, steepling Harlan's fingers, gnarled from years of pointing at maps. Now weapons in my arsenal. Ops can wait. This is personal. About Abigail. His face crumpled. A crack in the armor. Sir. We handled it. The plea deal. Handled it. I slammed a fist down, the thud echoing like a judge's gavel. You mean framed my wife? Your wife? For my mistakes. The words hung, controversial as a leaked memo, and I watched him squirm, the color draining from his cheeks. Dad. What? You said it was necessary. National security. I rose, looming over him, the uniform's eagles glinting like accusations. Necessary? To pin a war crime on an innocent woman because she got too close? I raised you better than that. Boy. Or did I? Tell me. Ethan, did you ever love her? Or was she just collateral in Daddy's game? He bolted up, chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard. This isn't you. What's wrong with you? The doctors said the stroke was minor. Stroke. I barked a laugh, circling the desk, invading his space. Is that the cover?
Fine.
But here's the truth. Son, I'm not your father anymore. I'm the ghost you buried. Abigail. The room spun for him. I saw it in the wideness of his eyes, the stutter in his breath. Abby?
No.
This is insane. Some kind of breakdown. I grabbed his collar, yanking him close. Our faces inches apart, father and son, but twisted into something profane. Insane? Try betrayal. You let them take me. Ethan watched as they dragged me away in cuffs. And for what? A star on your shoulder?
Well,
Congratulations. You've got one now. But I'm promoting myself to judge and jury. I shoved him back, and he stumbled, crashing into the credenza. Photos of us, the wedding, vacations in the Smokies, tinkling to the floor like broken promises. Please, Abby, if that's you, stop.
we can fix this.
Divorce papers, money, whatever you want. Fix it. My voice dropped to a whisper. Harlan's timbre laced with my venom. Too late for Band-Aids. But here's your first order as my adjutant. Dig up every file on Phase 2. Or I'll make sure your court-martial makes Watergate look like a parking ticket. He fled, tail between his legs. And I sank into the chair, pulse thundering in Harlan's veins. The high of it, power, unfiltered, was intoxicating, like moonshine burning down to your soul. But doubt crept in, a sliver under the nail. How long could I keep this up? Harlan's mind echoed in the background. Faint impressions like radio static, memories of battles, lovers, regrets.
He was in me.
Trapped, screaming silently.
Good.
Let him feel the cage. By week's end, I'd escalated. Controversial decisions came easy in the skin. Harlan's reputation shielded the bold strokes. I leaked a redacted memo to a contact at The Intercept Anonymous. Of course, hinting at the arms deals without fingering myself. The press ate it up. Headlines screaming Pentagon ghost, shadow war exposed. Pundits on Fox and MSNBC duked it out. One side calling it deep state sabotage, the other a whistleblower's cry. Protests sprouted on the National Mall. Veterans in camo clashing with college kids in keffiyehs. The air thick with tear gas and chants of no more lies. Ethan delivered the files that Friday. A thumb drive clutched like a grenade. We met in a dive bar off DuPont Circle. The kind where spies swap secrets over watery IPAs. He slid it across the scarred oak table. Eyes hollow. Everything's there. Routes. Payoffs. The village coordinates. Abby. This'll end us all. I pocketed it, sipping the General's Scotch neat. The burn grounding me. Ends? This is just intermission. Your father's empire, our empire, crumbles tonight. But as he left, shoulders slumped under the weight of revelation. A pang hit me, not Harlan's.
Meaning.
Love, twisted as it was, lingered like smoke. Had I pushed too far? The decision gnawed. Destroy him utterly. Or carve out mercy in the carnage. No time for softness. I uploaded the drive to a dark web drop. Tipped off Ruiz, my old lawyer. Now a reluctant ally via smuggled notes from Solitary's ghosts. By Monday, the story broke wide. General Whitaker implicated in a legal arms ring. Raids hit my safe houses at dawn. Black SUVs screeching through foggy bottom like avenging angels. Aides scattered. Loyalties fracturing like cheap china. The climax brewed in the Situation Room. That subterranean nerve center, where presidents play God. I'd called an emergency briefing. Pulling strings Harlan's clout made effortless. The Joint Chiefs assembled, faces like thunderclouds. As I laid it out, the ops, the betrayal, my Abigail's innocence. Gasps rippled. Admiral Greer, a hawk with a sailor squint, leaned forward. General, this is mutiny. You're confessing to treason. Treason? I stood, uniform jacket straining, voice booming off the walnut walls. Call it reckoning. I framed an innocent woman to protect this house of cards. Abigail Hayes rots because I feared the light. Gentlemen, the Emperor's naked, and I'm handing you the mirror. Chaos erupted shouts. Slamming fists. One colonel drawing his sidearm in a blur of panic. Secret Service burst in. Tasers humming. And I went down laughing. Zip ties biting into Harlan's wrists. As they dragged me away, I caught Greer's eye. Mouthing, "Free her." The fallout was biblical. Hearings in Congress. Flashbulbs popping like gunfire outside the Capitol. Ethan testified, voice cracking as he spilled the family sins. His medals pinned like scarlet letters. My wife. She was the scapegoat. I failed her. The gallery wept. America loves a redemption arc, even if it's built on lies. But the twist? It came in the psych ward at Walter Reed, where they warehoused me, Harlan's body, my mind, for evaluation, under sodium pentothal haze. The docs pried loose the truth. No swap. No devil's bargain. Just a breakdown. A dissociative fugue triggered by guilt. Harlan Whitaker, racked by the botched op, had cracked, his psyche fracturing into Abigail's ghost, a hallucination born of remorse. Her face haunting his mirror because he'd loved her like the daughter he never had. The real Abigail? She'd taken the plea months back, vanished into witness protection. Her story buried deeper than bones. Ethan had lied to protect her, staging the frame to draw fire from Harlan's real accomplices. The general, me, had confessed nothing. It was all delusion. A mind unraveling under the Empire's weight. They released me, a shell of a man, into Ethan's care. He drove me home to the estate, the drive silent as a grave. It's over, Dad, he said finally, pulling into the garage. Abby's safe. She never wanted revenge, just justice. I nodded, Harlan's head heavy on my neck. But inside, Abigail screamed silent fury. Was it all a dream? Or had the swap been real? And this the final eye? As Ethan helped me inside, I glimpsed the mirror, my reflection, his winked, a secret shared with the void. In the end, the Empire fell anyway, accomplices ratted. Trials dragged on. Harlan Whitaker retired in disgrace. A footnote in history books. Ethan got his star, but wore it tarnished. And me, Abigail Hayes, wherever she hid, wrote her exposé under a new name. Words that sparked debates in diners from sea to shining sea. Was revenge ever just? Or just another American dream? Twisted dark? The cicadas still scream some nights. And I wonder, if I close my eyes, will the lightning strike again? The psych ward's fluorescent hum was a poor substitute for the storm that had birthed me into this body. But it did its job. Kept the edges of reality sharp, like a bayonet against skin. Harlan Whitaker's form wasted away on the starched sheets. for drip beeping a monotonous dirge, while nurses in scrubs bustled past with charts and condolences. "General, you had quite the episode," one said, a Midwestern lilt softening the blow. "Dissociative identity. Stress-related. Happens to the best." Episode. As if my vengeful rebirth was a skipped heartbeat, not a soul theft straight out of some pulpy noir. But the docs insisted. Harlan Stroke 6 months back. Mini. They called it, like it was a damn candy bar, had rewired his brain, dredging up guilt over the Hayes affair like bilge water from a sinking ship. Abigail wasn't possessing him. She was a phantom, a Jungian shadow conjured from suppressed paternal affection and operational PTSD. I'd confessed to the Situation Room meltdown because my subconscious craved absolution, scripting a Greek tragedy where the general played both tyrant and tragic hero. Bullshit. I felt her, me, stirring in the marrow, a current under Harlan's sluggish pulse. The memories didn't mesh, his of Tet offensive foxholes and Oval Office briefings, mine of bylines and bridal showers. The sting of Ethan's betrayal like salt in a fresh wound. If it was all hallucination, why did the leaked memo lead to real raids? Why did Viper, the handler, hang himself in a Georgetown brownstone? Notes scrawled in Cyrillic. The ghost knows. Ethan visited daily, his captain's bars catching the light like fool's gold. He'd perch on the vinyl visitor's chair, elbows on knees, spinning tales of normalcy to anchor me, his father, back to shore. The brass is handling the inquiries. Dad. No charges. Abby's.
Well,
She's relocated. West Coast, I think. Said to tell you she's grateful. Grateful? For what? The 5x9 cell I'd imagined her rotting in? Or the phantom revenge I'd waged in her name? I probed him once. Late evening when the ward quieted to whispers and Will creaks. Tell me about the frame job.
son.
Did she fight it? Curse my name to the rafters. He blinked. Adam's apple bobbing like a buoy in chop.
Dad. We don't talk about that.
The plea was clean. She walked after 2 years. No record. Why dredge it up now? Because it's the hook in my gut. I wanted to snarl, Abigail's voice clawing up my throat. Instead, Harlan's rumble emerged. Guilt's a bitch. Ethan. Eats you hollow.
Just.
Make sure she's okay. For me. He squeezed my hand, paternal flesh against filial, and nodded, eyes glassy. I will. Love you, Dad.
Love.
The word landed like a dud grenade, hollow and mocking. In the quiet after he left, I traced the scar on Harlan's wrist, a faint line from a nom-interrogation gone sideways. What secrets did this body hold that even it forgot? I needed out. Needed to chase the truth before the meds blurred it to vapor. Discharge came swift, greased by Pentagon pull. Light duty, the shrink prescribed, a wry smile under his beard. No briefings. Golf. Maybe. And therapy, twice weekly. Therapy. As if shrinks could unpack a soul swap. Ethan collected me in the Escalade. The drive home a funeral procession past cherry blossoms shedding petals like confetti for the damned. The estate loomed on its hillock outside McLean, all white columns and wrought iron gates. A Confederate relic repurposed for Cold War kings. Inside, it smelled of lemon polish and loneliness. Mary the housekeeper had decamped after the incident, leaving echoes in the halls. Ethan fussed, brewing coffee strong as bunker fuel, recounting wedding plans for his impending nuptials. Her name's Laura. Teaches at Georgetown. Smart. Like Abby was. Like Abby. The comparison stung. A barb in the ribs. She got a temper? Mouth off at generals over turkey. He chuckled. But it died quick.
No. Sir. She's steady.
Doesn't ask questions. Steady. The American ideal. Quiet. Compliant. Camera ready for the C-SPAN wife shot. Abigail had been firecrackers and late-night debates, quoting Snowden over Sauvignon Blanc. Her laugh a rebellion against the Whittaker dynasty's decorum. No wonder Harlan me had loathed her on sight. At the wedding, under that tent strung with fairy lights and the Potomac glittering like fool's mercury, he'd pulled Ethan aside during the father-son dance. Marrying a journalist.
So?
That's like betting a viper. Keep her leashed, or she'll bite.
Idilbert.
Toasting with the bridesmaids. Heart souring the bubbly.
Now.
In his skin. I could almost taste the hypocrisy, the man who'd betted aides and informants, buried affairs under NDAs, preaching fidelity like a televangelist. That night, alone in the master suite, I rifled the hidden safe behind the Rothko knockoff. Combination muscle memoried, March 31st, 1968. Key Sands Fall. Inside, passports, gold bars, a ledger in code, payoffs to congressmen, numbered accounts in the Caymans, and a photo, creased and faded, Harlan, young and cocky in fatigues, arm around a woman not his wife, dark hair, sharp eyes. Abigail's mother? No. The dates didn't match. A lover? The plot thickened. A noir coil tightening. Sleep evaded. Chased by dreams where bodies swapped like shells in a con game. I woke sweating. Harlan's pajamas clinging. And padded to the study. The computer hummed to life. Password, Iron Fist 69, subtle as a sledgehammer. Emails flooded, from Viper's ghost account. Pre-suicide. The girl knew too much. Handle it. The girl, me. But the timestamp predated my arrest by weeks. Someone else had flagged the op first. Dawn broke gray. Rain lashing the windows like accusations. Ethan knocked. Bearing breakfast, eggs over easy. Bacon crisp. The soldier's fuel. PT this morning? Doc says movement helps. I grunted assent. Trading silk for sweats. The mirror mocking, Harlan's gut softer than remembered. Jowls deepening. We jogged the estate's trails. Virginia oaks dripping. Mud sucking at Nikes. He chattered about Laura's thesis on cyber ethics. But I lagged. Mind racing ahead. Ethan, I panted. That analyst Viper mentioned, the one before Abby. Who was she? He faltered.
Sneakers squelching.
What analyst?
Dad.
You're mixing timelines. The op was clean till Abby started poking. Liar. The denial hung, controversial as a false flag. I grabbed his arm, halting us under a dripping gazebo. Don't gaslight me.
Boy.
Harlan had a leak. A woman. What happened to her? His face shuddered, jaw clenching like a trap. Ancient history. Some intern who cracked under pressure. NDA. Relocation. Why? Because history's a bitch that bites back. Just tying loose ends. For the memoir. I forced a Harlan grin. Wolfish and winning. And he bought it. Resuming the jog with forced cheer. But the seeds sprouted doubt. Back home. Showered and suited. I hit the Pentagon on light duty, schmoozing aides. Mining whispers. in the SCF. Eyes on me like hawks.
Y access d'archives classified.
Harlan's clearance a skeleton key. There. Subject. Elena Vasquez. Analyst.
Gia.
Terminated 2022. Cause. Nervous breakdown. Relocated per NDN. Terminated. The word chilled. A draft from the ventilation. Vasquez's photo, mid-20s. Latina firebrand with a stare that pierced firewalls. She'd blown the whistle on an earlier op, Harlan's precursor to Phase 2. A drone glitch that flattened a wedding in Yemen. Framed as unstable. Shipped to a psych facility in Nevada. Pumped full of Haldol till she signed the silence. Abigail hadn't been the first scapegoat. She'd been the echo. The repeat offender in Harlan's playbook.
And Ethan?
He'd been the cleaner. The loyal son who'd relocated Vasquez. Whispering threats in her ear under Harlan's orders. The betrayal deepened. Layers peeling like onion skin. Each more rancid than the last. Rage boiled. Abigail's vintage, hot. Unfiltered. The kind that topples statues. I needed proof. Hard copy. Something to shatter the delusion narrative. That evening, I drove to the old safe house in Anacostia, a nondescript warehouse masking arms caches. Harlan's key fob chirped the lock. And inside, crates stamped medical supplies, but reeking of cordite. In the back office, a shredder hummed with half-chewed docs, but one fragment survived, Vasquez's psych eval. Signed by Ethan. Patient exhibits paranoia. Recommend indefinite hold. My hands, Harlan's, trembled, crumpling the paper. This wasn't guilt, it was a pattern. A machine grinding women under its treads for the greater good. Controversial? Hell. It was systemic. The dark underbelly of American exceptionalism. Sacrifice the few to save the myth. I torched the fragment in a metal trash can, flames dancing like vindictive sprites, then slipped out into the night. Ethan waited at home. Dinner simmering, pot roast. His mother's recipe. Comfort food for fractured families. Good day, he asked, plating with care. Revelatory.
Iset.
Fork-piercing meat like flesh. Tell me about Elena Vasquez. The clatter of silverware betrayed him. Fork dropping to China, with a ping.
Who?
Don't. My voice was Harlan's whip crack. But Abigail's steel. The intern. The one you broke. Like you tried with me. He sagged. Color fleeing like rats from a fire. Dad, God. The meds are messing with you. Elena was a mistake. She threatened to go public. I talked her down. That's all. Talked her down. I rose. Chair toppling. The roar in my ears drowning the sizzle of gravy. You drugged her. Ethan. Locked her away. And when Abby got too close, you serve her up on the same platter. For what? To keep the family crest shiny? He backed away. Hands up like placating a bomb. It was orders. Your orders. National security. Ukraine's on the brink. Dad. One leak. And Putin's laughing. Security. Laughter bubbled. Manic. Harlan's basso laced with my hysteria. You mean your career? The Whitaker legacy? Abby, loved you. You son of a bitch. Gave up my voice for your silence. And this is the thanks. The room tilted. His eyes widening in that telltale flicker, recognition. Fear. Abby?
No.
Not this again. The doctors said. Fuck the doctors. I lunged, grabbing his lapels, slamming him against the floral wallpaper. Up close. He smelled of aftershave and fear. The boy I'd married crumbling under the general's grip. Feel me, Ethan. The woman you betrayed. Twice over. I'm here. In his skin. And I'm ending it. He twisted free. Breath ragged. Bolting for the door. I'm calling the ward. This delusion, it's killing you. Killing Harlan. Maybe. But birthing me anew. As taillights faded down the drive, I sank to the rug. Pulse hammering. The house groaning like a dying beast. The decision loomed. Dark and debatable. Expose him. Drag the dynasty down in flames? Or mercy? Let the ghost fade. Reclaim a fractured piece? Lightning flickered outside. A tease of the storm to come. I smiled into the dark, Abigail's smile. Sharp as shrapnel. Round 2 was just beginning. The rain came down in biblical sheets that night, turning the estate's gravel drive into a river of reckoning. I paced the study like a caged panther, Harlan's frame heavy, but mine in intent, pouring bourbon from the cut crystal decanter. Each glug a toast to fallen illusions. Ethan's call to the ward? Intercepted by a loyal aide, greased with promises of promotions and threats of audits. Let him stew. I'd growled into the landline. Voice modulated to Harlan's timbre. Family matters stay in-house. But stew he did. Or rather, plotted. Dawn brought a visitor not on the roster. Laura. His fiancée. Stepping from a lift in a trench coat that screamed grad student chic, practical, professorial, with a messenger bag slung like armor. She introduced herself in the foyer, extending a hand soft as untested theory.
Mr.
Whitaker? Ethan said you might need support. After the episode. The word grated again. A euphemism for the unraveling of empires. I shook her hand, feeling the pulse in her wrist, steady, yes, but with an undercurrent of curiosity, the kind that dissected texts and men alike. Support's a strong word. Ms.
Dr.
Reyes. Cyber law. Her eyes, dark and assessing, scanned the room, the leather-bound Sun Tzus, the faded stars and stripes from Iwo Jima. Ethan's worried.
Says you've been
Revisiting old ghosts.
ghosts. Plural now.
Fisquez. Hayes, me, a spectral sorority haunting the general's golden years. I gestured to the Chesterfield, pouring her tea from a samovar that hadn't seen action since the Tsar. Ghosts make poor company.
Doctor.
But they tell truths aides won't. She sipped, prim but probing. Truths like what? Ethan's vague, PTSD. Guilt over ops. But you strike me as a man who's seen too much to crack now. Flattery. Academic style. Hook the source. Reel in the spill. Abigail admired it, even as Harlan bristled. Ops, I echoed, sinking opposite her, the chair groaning like confession. Ever wonder what necessary evils cost?
Dr.
Reyes? A village here, a whistleblower there. Women. Mostly. Easier to discredit. Her cup paused midair, steam curling like questions. Women?
That's
specific. Ethan's stories are all heroism medals. Missions. Heroism's the varnish.
Mum.
Underneath?
Rot.
I leaned in, Harlan's breath whiskey-tanged, but my words laced with venom. Take Elena Vasquez.
Gianalise.
2022. Sniffed a drone glitch in Yemen, 50 civilians. Wedding party turned crater. General here buried it. framed her as bipolar. Shipped to Nevada.
Ethan.
Assisted. Laura's face tightened. A scholar spotting fallacy. Assisted how? That's ancient. And unprovable, NDAs. Classifications. Provable. I slid a photocopy across the tea tray, the psych eval fragment. Salvaged from ashes. Signed by your fiancé. Patient paranoid. Code 4 silenced. She scanned it. Color draining to parchment. This is
Jesus.
Ethan never. A pause. The academics tell, cross-referencing memory banks. He mentioned a relocation project. Said it was HR drudgery. Drudgery. Laughter rumbled. Mine and his in duet. Try cover-up. And Abigail Hayes? My daughter-in-law. Same playbook. 2024. She dug too deep on the Ukraine arms. Harlan, pinned it on her. Ethan delivered the emails. Laura set the paper down. Hands steady, but eyes storming. Why tell me? Leverage? Or warning?
Choice.
The word hung. Controversial as a veto. Marry into this. You're complicit.
Walk.
You're free. But dig deeper, cyber traces, dark web drops, and you might save more than your conscience. She rose. Bag clutched like a shield. I need to think. Ethan, he loves you.
But this.
At the door, she turned, voice a whisper. If it's true, it's monstrous. American as apple pie, but monstrous. The door clicked shut, leaving me with the Rains tattoo and a thrill Abigail hadn't felt since Byline days. Ally potential. A wild card in the deck. But Ethan returned by noon. Face thunderous. Laura's lift taillights long faded. What the hell did you say to her? I met his glare from the study's wingback. Harlan's pipe clenched in teeth. Unlit. A prop for patriarch. Truths.
Son.
The kind that set you free. Or damn you. He paced. Boots thudding carpet like mortar rounds. She's packing. Says I'm a monster enabler.
Dad.
This delusion, it's poisoning everything. Poison. I stubbed the pipe, rising to match his stride. Try antidote. Vasquez is out there.
Ethan.
Locked in some state-funded limbo. Babbling about drones that aren't illusions. Abby's in Witsec. But the noose tightens. Your father's enemies don't forget. He halted. Fists balled. Abby's fine. And Elena, God. She was unstable. Cracked before I ever. Liar. The accusation cracked like lightning. And I closed the gap. Nose to nose. You chose. Every time. Family over justice. Me over her. But here's the twist. Captain, I'm not your father. Not fully. Abigail's here. In the cracks. And she's rewriting the script. His laugh was brittle. Denial's last gasp. Prove it. If you're her, why not swap back? Haunt me proper? Temptation flared. The storm's call. That ozone whisper. But proof was the cage. Without it, I was just a mad general raving at shadows. Proof's coming. Tonight. I stormed out. Escalade roaring to life. Destination, Nevada. The drive blurred interstate monotony, Shenandoah's green fading to Midwest flatlands. Then desert scrub under a merciless sun. Harlan's body protested, bladder weak. Back knotted. But Abigail's will was iron. Fueled by black coffee and bootleg podcasts on PsyOps. Elena Vasquez's facility. Desert Pines Behavioral. A low-slung bunker off I-15. Barbed wire polite as a smile. Check-in was a farce. Harlan's credentials opened gates faster than Moses parted seas. Visiting analyst, I bluffed. Uniforms swapped for civvies, khakis, polo. The everyman's camouflage. The dock on rotation. A harried shrink named Patel. Bought it hook and sinker. General. She's stable-ish. Meds keep the episodes down. But questions? She circles like a shark. Circled to the rec room. Linoleum floors. Faded murals of cacti smiling like liars. Elena sat at a puzzle table. Pieces scattered like exploded intel, 50s. Sharp-cheeked. Hair streaked gray premature. Her eyes lit when I approached. Recognition flickering. Whitaker. Come to finish the job. I slid into the plastic chair opposite. Voice low. Not him. Me, Abigail Hayes. The second ghost. She froze. Puzzle piece hovering. Hayes. The journalist. They said you plead out. Traitor. Framed. Like you. I pushed a photo across the ledger page. Vasquez's name inked bold. Your eval. Ethan's signature. Her fingers trembled. Tracing the script. Captain Pretty Boy. Whispered it'd all go away if I signed. Then the needles. A swallow. Eyes hardening. Yemen. The bride in white. Dancing. Drone feed glitched or sabotaged. Harlan's cut corners. Black budget. Sabotaged. The word ignited. A fuse to Abigail's suspicions. Insider job. Viper, Russian asset. Deep cover. Harlan's partner in the arms flip. Sell to militias. Skim for Moscow. The glitch? Cover for the double dip. Twist upon twist. The plot coiling like a rattler. Harlan wasn't just corrupt. He was a traitor. Playing both sides for profit. Elena's leak had been the first domino. Mine the second. Ethan's loyalty, blind to the board's flip. Why tell me, she pressed. Voice a rasp. Escape? Or, bury deeper? Revenge. The word tasted like dust and destiny. Help me nail them. Your testimony. My access. We swap the narrative. Make the general the ghost. She nodded.
Slow.
A pact sealed in fluorescent hell. Out first. Tonight. I know the shift change glitch. The breakout was slapstick noir, sedatives swapped for placebos. A laundry cart for cover. Fence cutters smuggled in scripture. By midnight, we were in the Escalade. Streaking east. Elena's shotgun with a stolen burner buzzing contacts. Old DIA allies. Hungry for payback. Dawn found us in a Topeka motel. Neon flickering vacancy like a bad omen. Ethan called, voicemail. Frantic. Dad. Where are you? Laura's gone. Said something about ghosts. Please. Call back. I deleted it. Turning to Elena. Next move, DC. Confront the sun. She smirked. First light in her eyes. Controversial. Family implosion. America's watching. Watching they were. By Kansas City. News alerts pinged. Whitaker probe deepens. Suicide note ties general to foreign funds. Viper's Cyrillic? A breadcrumb. Leading hounds to Harlan's door. Protests swelled. Vets burning effigies on the mall. Hashtags General Ghost trending like wildfire. Pundits debated. Patriot or puppet? The body swap rumor leaked. Tabloid fever dream. But it stuck. Fueling forums with conspiracy catnip. Ethan's ambush came in Ohio. State trooper lights flaring behind us like Judgment Day. Pull over, the bullhorn blared, but Elena floored it. The chase a blur of sirens and adrenaline. Pentagon wet work, she yelled over the howl. Can't let us testify. We ditched in a cornfield. Harlan's frame heaving as we hoofed to a barn. Stealing a pickup rusted as regret. Inside. Radio crackled. Shootout in Medina County. Suspect. Escaped psych patient. Accomplice. Retired General Harlan Whitaker. Wanted for questioning. Wanted. The word thrilled. Abigail's pulse sinking with the engine's growl. But cost mounted. Elena's hands shook. Withdrawal gnawing. My Harlan's vision blurred. The old ticker protesting the sprint.
D.C.
Loomed by dusk. The Capitol dome mocking under storm clouds. We parked in Rock Creek. Shadows cloaking the approach to the Whitaker estate. Ethan waited on the porch. Sidearm holstered. Face a mask of anguish and resolve. Dad.
Elena.
End this. I stepped forward.
Elena flanking.
The trio, a twisted family portrait. It's over.
Son.
The ledgers. The signatures. Viper was Kremlin. You covered for a traitor. He shook his head. Rain slicking his hair.
No.
You covered for him. The swap is your breakdown. Dad. Abby's real words. Through you. But Elena? She's the threat. Unstable.
Elena Lauged. Bitter.
Unstable? Says the enabler. The shot rang his. Instinctive. Grazing her shoulder. She crumpled. Blood blooming dark on denim. And I tackled him. Harlan's bulk pinning the boy.
Ethan.
God, why? For the family, he gasped. Eyes wild. Always. Sirens wailed distant. The storm breaking.
Elena groined.
Pressing cloth to the wound. Finish it.
Abby.
The truth. Decision's precipice. Cuff him.
Call it in?
Or the dark path. Harlan's service pistol. Cold in my palm. Barrel to his temple. Controversial. Irreversible. Patricide in reverse. A son's end for a father's sins. Lightning cracked. And in that flash, the whisper returned. Power for power. I lowered the gun. Dialing 911 instead. Shooting. Estate. Send help. Cops swarmed. Ethan cuffed on his own porch.
Elena medevached. Me?
Hauled to holding. The swap's architect unmasked as delusion's pawn. But as they printed Harlan's fingers, I caught my reflection, eyes. For a split second, Abigail's green, unyielding. The cell was familiar, gray walls echoing Supermax. But this time, I waited not for lightning, but justice's slow grind. Holding cells in D.C. have a uniformity to them, cold steel benches. The faint tang of bleach masking despair. Fluorescent strips buzzing like judgmental insects. Harlan Whitaker's body slumped against the cinderblock. Wrists chafed from cuffs now removed. But the real binds were memories. Elena's blood on the porch planks. Ethan's bewildered stare as Feds slapped irons on the golden boy.
Dad.
What have you done? He'd pleaded. Rain mingling with tears.
Done?
Unearthed the rot.
Given it air.
But at what cost? Interrogation came swift. A tag team of FBI suits in the fluorescent-lit box next door, mirrored glass reflecting Harlan's haggard mug back at me like a funhouse distortion. Lead agent. Kowalski. Polish stock. Eyes like radar. General. Walk us through it. The escape. The gun. Your son says you're unwell. Unwell. The clinical dodge. Sidestepping madness. I straightened, Harlan's spine cracking like gunfire, and fixed him with a stare Abigail had honed in newsrooms, unblinking, unrelenting. Unwell? Try enlightened. Agent. My son's a murderer, accessory at minimum. Elena Vasquez, shot to silence. Like he tried with me. Kowalski's pen paused. Notebook open like a trap. You? Abigail Hayes is in WITSEC. General. Plea deal.
Clean break. But you.
Talking like her. The psych eval from Reed. Dissociative fugue. I interrupted. The diagnosis sour on my tongue. Cute label for truth serum. Harlan Whitaker, me. Him, framed Hayes. Vasquez before her. Viper? Russian cutout. Siphoning arms for rubles. Check the Caymans. Account 4782. It'll sing. He leaned back. Chair creaking. Skepticism warring with protocol. If you're her, Abigail, why the body? Sci-fi swap. Call it possession. Guilt's the demon. I rapped the table. Harlan's knuckles whitening. Or don't. But Elena lives, get her statement. She'll corroborate. They did.
Medic stabilized her in GW, SER.
Surgeons picking buckshot from shoulder like grapes from a cluster. By morning, her deposition hit the wire. Yemen glitch. Viper's double game. Ethan's talkdowns that left her catatonic. The ledger photocopy? Gold. Forensics traced ink to Harlan's study safe. And the kicker, a thumb drive. Elena's smuggled relic from DIA days. Decrypted en route. Audio of Harlan and Viper. Bourbon slurred. The skim set. 50 mil to the militias. 20 to Moscow. Leak? Plug it hard. The machine churned. Ethan lawyered up. Stonewalling till his JAG rep cracked under the weight. Plea for manslaughter. Accessory to treason. He thought he was protecting family, the brief read. That American Hail Mary. Loyalty as virtue. Laura? She testified remote. Voice steady over Zoom from a Boston safehouse. I saw the eval. Knew then. The Whitakers eat their own. Headlines cascaded. Generals fall, from hero to Judas. Fox spun Patriot Purge. CNN Deep State Reckoning. Protests morphed. Burned draft cards to drone funerals. Hashtags swapped the narrative trending with fanfic of my possession. Debatable denouement. Was Harlan mad or martyr? Abigail real or relic? My hearing landed in federal court. The same marble mausoleum where she fought the frame. Judge Harlan, irony's lash no relation, but mustache twin to the original. General Whitaker. Competency restored. The shrink testified. Charts flashing like indictments. Meds stabilize. No further episodes. I took the stand in Harlan's tweed. Voice steady. Your Honor.
I'm Harlan.
But Abigail spoke through me, guilt's conduit. The confessions?
Real.
Release Hayes from shadows. Prosecute the son. Gasps rippled the gallery. Vets. Reporters. Elena in witness box. Bandaged, but blazing. Ethan. Orange jumpsuit across the aisle. Mouth sorry, but his eyes screamed betrayal's echo. Dad's crumbling his world. Verdict. Not guilty by reason of insanity, Harlan's. Not mine. Committed to Reed for observation, but with a twist. Full pardon for whistleblowing. Medals pinned posthumous if the treason stuck.
Ethan?
20 to life.
No parole.
The family name a curse in mess halls. Discharge felt like resurrection. Ethan visited once more. Pre-transfer to Leavenworth. Separated by thicker glass.
Dad.
If she's in there, tell Abby I'm sorry. For everything. I pressed palm to barrier. Harlan's liver spotted against his smooth.
She hears.
But sorry don't swap back the years. Or the blood. He nodded. Tears carving tracks. Love you both. Love. The word lingered as they led him away. Chains clinking like wind chimes in hell. Freedom's first act. The wedding unrehearsed.
No.
Not Ethan's farce. But a quiet ceremony in Arlington's columbarium. Under Oak's whispering scandals. Elena stood witness. Scar fading to badge. And Abigail? The real one emerged from Witsec shadows. Laura's doing. Cyber traces unraveled. She stepped from a cab. Unchanged, auburn waves. Green eyes sharp as indictments. Jeans and blazer screaming survivor chic. General, she said. Handshake firm. But her gaze pierced, the swap's residue. Soul recognizing shell. Abigail. Harlan's voice. But her lilt in the inflection. Heard you wrote the book. Bestseller? She smiled.
Right.
Ghostwritten. Pun intended. You. Memoir. Shadows of command. Therapy's gift. We walked the grounds. Headstones marching like silent jurors. The swap, she ventured. Voice low. Was it real? Lightning scar memory. The rip. The whisper. Real as regret. You and me, us. Burned it clean. She nodded. Arm linking mine, daughter. Not in law. Ethan's appeal.
Thinks you're possessed.
Wants a sign. Controversial closure. Mercy or myth. I penned the note that night. Harlan's script. The storm passed. We're whole. Forgive. Mailed to Leavenworth. No return. The top commander's salute came unbidden. At the cemetery's edge. Joint Chief's chair. Greer, the admiral from my confession, approached. Stars gleaming. General Whitaker. For service above, he said, snapping crisp. Hand to brow. I returned it. Harlan's muscle memory flawless. But Abigail's heart swelled, undisciplined no more. But undisciplined in victory. The old man who'd sneered at my vows now housed my triumph. The father-in-law's shadow yielded to daughter's light. America debated the epilogue. Redemption or ruse. Harlan's delusion a psyop cover? Abigail's return a deepfake? Forums raged. Beers cracked in bars from Boise to Brooklyn. Body swaps real? Or just another Washington switcheroo?
Me?
I golfed poorly. Wrote fiercely. Watched sunsets over the Potomac with Elena. Laura's wedding toast echoing. To ghosts who haunt us home. The cicadas hushed that summer. But thunder rumbled distant. If it struck again, I'd answer not with rage, but reckoning. For in the end, revenge wasn't the swap, it was surviving the trade.